All right, peace and blessings, family. We back up in here
Okay.
for another day of great conversations. I am Rolanda Wilkins here in the great state of California, where the weather has changed yet again. I think we live in Seattle by the weather. No, that's how much it's changing. It was just like 100 degrees, and today it's like 72. So I don't
Right.
know what's going on with the weather. And it's May. So I'm doing well. If you could introduce yourself, say where you're calling from, and how you feeling.
Well, okay. I am Iabia Wobagi Fayomi Faladay Awa Rainey, and I'm actually in hot, sunny Phoenix, Arizona, under the desert sky. Hey.
Woo, woo,
Hey,
woo.
Phoenix. All right, who's next?
I'm Ifama Duplay, and I'm here in Sacramento. And it's a wonderful day. I'm so excited about today's conversation.
Yeah, you both. Who else we got?
Um, I'm Iyale Olomide, and I'm on the islands. I'm out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So, and it's sunny today. It was kind of dreary yesterday, but it's nice and sunny, and I'm happy because I'm near. Um, Yay, I can go stick my little big toe in, in the water. So yeah, hi, I'm here.
All
Okay.
right. Poor dog. The dog
Um,
is like, me too, I'm here.
so I'm Dr. Iya Ajwa out of Philadelphia, PA.
Silly.
And whoop, whoop. I was just sharing with Rolanda about that. We're in a state of mourning here in Philly in the Black community because this is the 35th anniversary of the second time that they dropped a bomb in this country, on African people. So yeah, we going through it today. We gonna be all right.
So with that being said, maybe we could start off with a little bit of prayer if we could. Could someone offer up a prayer for us to open?
Okay. Oluwa Runatia, yay. A la rawa, la rawa, la rawa. A rumula rawa, rumula rawa. A rumula rawa. Ifa bil ba rokoko day. Ifa bil ba rokoko day. Ifa bil ba rokoko day. A rumula bil ba rokoko bo. Rumula bil ba rokoko bo. Rumula bil ba rokoko bo. A reggae ne te kuegede. A reggae ne te kuegede. A reggae ne te kuegede. Abbiamo chi becamomo corridoro. Abbiamo chi becamomo corridoro. Abbiamo chi becamomo corridoro. Divine and powerful Ifa Oludumare. Romula, Letty Pena Bikajelu Demare. We come before you and thank you for this outlet, this program, these women entering into conversations that will impact our community globally. We're thanking you and asking you to give divine protection around each and every one of us and our families and all who we love. We ask of you to enlighten us and to inspire us and to give us insight and to give us answers to our questions through divine inspiration. We thank you for this day of being able to wake up and do another day. We thank you and we are in grateful gratitude. This we pray, Ashe, Ashe, Sheo.
I
Okay.
said,
Wow. So real quick before we get into the question of the conversation, can you give us a little bit of history on Move? And for those of us, I think all of us was alive. Where were you at that time, and what was the impact in that moment?
wow. So this is really powerful that you're asking me this question because they are actually two brothers in Philly. It's a team of people that are gathering data or stories from
Hold on
people.
just a minute. Sorry. Sorry. Hold on, y'all. Sorry. Can you give us a little bit of history? There we go. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's okay.
I'm inviting
Um,
people.
where they're gathering the stories of people who were here, like what were they doing, what happened with them, and it's just so interesting in terms of my story that this is the first time I'm sharing my story publicly, y'all. And my story is that so my daughter was I lived like in Upper Darby at the edge of the city. It was like right across from where the move bombing happened at. And so, all morning I was watching like what was going on. And, it had been a lot of back and forth between move and the city of Philadelphia prior to them, dropping the bomb. And so when it got to I'm gonna just say what happened, the most distinct thing, and then backtrack. And I was home with my daughter, and I heard all these helicopters, flying ahead, and then, I started seeing the Upper Darby Township police coming down. I live like down a hill in an apartment building, so the Upper Darby Township police were coming, and they had M16s or rifles and everything, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, like something is about to go down," And luckily, my husband, my first husband, he came and got me and my daughter out of there. But we ran. We had to come out under the cover of Upper Darby police. I was holding my daughter, and they were like covering us, and so we could get back to the edge of the city where my husband had parked his car at. And then we left and we went over my mom's house, and I literally watched them drop the bomb. Wow. On African people, like on TV. It was horrible. It was really horrible, and it's something that I'll never forget. And I'm so glad that my daughter was young. She was too young to even like remember that. But I tell her the story that she is connected, how she's connected to, this particular this horrible thing that happened in Philadelphia, and we're literally survivors of that, because anything could have happened. But this morning they were talking on the radio on WRD. Shout out to WRD.
Right on.
FM in Philly's only Black-owned radio station. And they were talking about it today, and people were calling in and recounting, their stories. And so, you got people on both sides kind of, but one thing that some people that agree with MOVE policies and their ideas, their ideology, and then some, people who thought of them as a nuisance group and in their community. But both sides agree on one thing, and that's that no matter what was going on, they did not deserve to be bombed.
That's so true.
It not only they bombed and killed the MOVE family and African people, they tore up a whole community.
Yep.
A whole community was tore up, and people are still like, people were calling in today, they were crying. People are still like, it's just the wounds are still there. And so although they're talking about a apology, they want an apology from the city, not necessarily MOVE, but just people in general think that the city needs to apologize. Yeah, look at that. It's horrible. Yes, all of that. And that community has never been restored. It will never be the same. They put up new housing, but the housing was turned out to be really defective. It was, and that was crazy in and of itself as well. It was because it was a black construction company, a black-owned construction company that put up the housing. It turned out to be really shoddy, and people lost their homes, people left, just a complete, really annihilation of a community, a lot of black families, and people are still dealing with this to this day. And so we really, like here in Philly, we got kind of an idea about, what happened in 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a powerful day. You know, people are sharing, people are recounting, and people are strategizing and grieving together, you know, on how to continue surviving being bombed as a community.
Hmm. Anybody else want to share anything on that?
Well, one of the things I remember is that I was in Chicago at the time, and there seemed to be a sense of media attempting to disenfranchise the movement, the people, and minimize exactly what took place there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people really hear, wait a minute, they dropped a bomb on a whole community of human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't really think that African people here get the real impact of hearing the government dropped a bomb on people and killed them and
Mm-hmm.
wiped out a whole community in
Yep.
the 20th century.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And with that, that alone is not about anything other than who did any kind of trauma um, aid to the community.
Mm-hmm.
What was done to by even the government, not even to apologize, but what did they do to heal that trauma and repair anything in that community that they themselves destroyed? And
I
that
mean,
to me seems to be a big, that resonates in my ear. And then for the spiritual community,
Right on.
what did the spiritual community, religious and spiritual community,
Mm-hmm.
to take care of the spirit of the people who had been killed?
We gonna
Their
get to that.
blood is still going.
That's right.
Their blood is still moving, and
oh
no one
yeah.
has done anything about it.
That's
Mm-hmm.
real talk. That's real
That's
talk.
So
that.
what has been done?
That's real talk. What I was gonna say, because that's what I'm leading into. Yeah, you right on it. We had just been living in California for maybe like 3 to 4 years, and I remember watching those scenes on the television on
Mm-hmm.
ABC. And then years later, decades later, I remember watching a film, and I don't know if you guys ever heard of this film. It literally made me cry at the end. I was just boo-hooing because whoever did this documentary is called Let It Burn.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let It Burn was probably one of
Let
the
the
best
fire
documentaries
burn.
I've seen to date
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
on the move. And I'm really big into documentaries because I think that in our community, we never get a chance to debrief on anything. We just keep moving, but then we keep having these issues in our community because we never, as Ia said, deal with those spirits, those lives who are still around us, still surrounding us. But in that movie, I think one of the children that survives, it's a young boy. He was the same age I was, and it
Wow.
bothered him a little bit. He ended up being a truck driver, but he was one of the only ones. He remembered distinctly them people trying to get out and them shooting and pushing people back into the building. Like
Yes.
they were
Yeah.
not trying to save
Yep.
anybody. And I think when
Right.
you see this documentary, it is that brutal force that we have to come face to face with, which we're still dealing with today. And how
Yeah.
do we use our spiritual wellness, our spiritual power, to clear that energy away? Because when people die like that, they don't leave.
No.
That's right. That's
They
right.
don't leave.
That's
But then we
right.
never recognized them either. And that was the only film I ever seen
Mm-hmm.
where it gave such great information, but it also really showed like it wasn't that they just dropped the C4 on men, women, and children and burnt down a whole community, but they didn't even want anyone to survive from that house.
No.
Right.
Nope.
That's the
They
part
didn't.
that got me. The
Right.
bomb was big, but to hear the backstory of people trying to leave and being shot and killed, and like no, we're not letting you out of here. And there were children in there, there were women in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. That's
So
why I use the word annihilation, because that's what they meant.
yeah,
That's what they meant to do. Like, now the research is showing that they definitely had a plan to do just what you said, to exterminate,
mhm,
obliterate
Mhm.
all of the Move family, all of them. And
yeah.
they didn't care at what cost, to whose detriment. They didn't care, And so that's very true. What you said, like literally, people were running. The Move family was running out. They were trying to
Mhm.
escape, and they started shooting at them, and they ended up running back in.
Yeah.
And that's is really a tragedy. It's a tragedy. It really is. And
So
go
yeah.
ahead.
So what do you suggest that we do, knowing the spirituality or the spirit piece? How do we, and not even just with Move, I think we have these reminders in our communities that we need to stop and pay homage and pay respect, and when those things happen. But what do we do on the spiritual side with when people die like that? You know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
um, last year there was a memorial put up because on I think it's on it's in the area where they dropped the bomb at. There is now a street called Wilson Good Way. And Wilson Good was the mayor
he was married,
who
but
Who
okayed them dropping the
the
bomb.
dropping of the bomb?
yeah,
Yes. And so there's now a street called Wilson Good Way. And so the community was, of course, in an uproar. They did not want that to happen. And they were told to their face by the politician who proposed Wilson Wood Get Way. His name is Curtis Thomas. So they were told by him that, well, yeah, I could change it, but I'm not going to. I mean, just the outright blatant disrespect and inconsideration of him in doing that. It was so much. And so the community put up a memorial for the Move family. And so I think it lasted about a month or so, or two, something like that. And somebody destroyed the memorial. They destroyed it. They just completely destroyed it. And so they didn't put it back up. They just said that they will try to address it in other ways, to let the Move family know that that a lot of us remember them and respect the family that was lost on that day. And so that's a conversation that was being had. And so of course people are working politically to do what they can to remove the politician who put Wilson Good Way up, that sign up on the street, because it's just like sticking a knife in us and turning it, and so it was just really horrible. And I know another thing that came about as a result was that you have people who are, you know, doing different things, but not making it so public, but doing different things to help the community heal, to help the Move family in whatever way that they can. Always giving them voice. Like they always have voice on WRD, AM and FM. They always have voice on there to tell their side of the story. And so it's just really a devastating thing that happened right here in Philadelphia, right here. You
so
know.
when you think about those lives that had been lost, I also think about those Atlanta child murders. I remember that like that was yesterday, and we
Mhm.
never,
Mhm.
we never, just in terms of in community, you go to Atlanta, you wouldn't even think that never happened there. Like
Exactly.
took place.
Yeah.
What do we do on the spiritual realm to help those lives that were lost to
Prayer
make
and
their way?
oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
prayer, prayer and sacrifices. from a Yoruba perspective, you're still looking at we go to our priests, we read it, we have communication with the deities. After that, we have prescribed behavioral things, prescribed elbows that should be done, and a roadmap is placed so that you have a continuous effort being made to address the issue. This is going to keep coming up over and over and over again from a spiritual perspective because the ancestors that we serve are not satisfied.
That's
How could they
right.
possibly be?
No, they're
No,
definitely
they
not.
couldn't possibly be satisfied simply because these are situations that are not being addressed properly, not spiritually. They're not being addressed by the community. And it's not even, I'm one that I don't like to, from a personal perspective, I don't like telling folks, especially my enemies, what I'm doing.
Hello.
Okay. And since we
Hear
have
you.
a metaphysical system,
Mhm,
it's really not a good thing for us to announce what we're doing.
Yeah.
mhm,
But
Right.
we do need to organize to do so.
mhm,
Okay. There's too many things that can be done because, again, you have with the Atlanta children's murders, that was
Mm-hmm.
never addressed.
mhm.
Never.
And it's not coming out of the consciousness of people. Ask somebody who is under 30 years old what happened.
Mhm,
And they don't know anything about it.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
And so this should be something just like the Holocaust for the Jews. Why aren't we consciously talking about this? Why aren't we saying something more about this other than these little moments here
Mhm.
where we can say something and say this happened to us and it's
Wow.
not addressed? So we have to think about how to do that because I remember seeing that and I thought I was in a foreign country.
Mm.
I remember seeing the film and thinking they couldn't possibly be doing that to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but they did. They wipe out our memory of who we are. Yeah, all the time. And it is a concerted effort to do so by the government. Good was just a puppet.
Yes, he
He was
was.
a puppet. Okay?
Mhm,
He didn't have no power to do anything other than to be just that, a puppet. Okay? The people who really did that, that's who you want to know. Those are the names that need to be called too. Who
oh, they're
pushed
being
him?
called.
Okay? Who
They're
pushed
being
him?
called. And he had the nerve, good to say that lament about how he has apologized, how many times he has apologized, and now he's calling on the Philadelphia city government to apologize. And so I think we have four council people that got together that are, mainly there. I think they are in control of the area where the bomb was dropped, that they did get together and they issued an apology to the Move family and to the residents of the city of Philadelphia.
You
But
know,
it's several, it's what, it's like 30, 40, 50 something council people, and four of them came forth and apologized. But I agree with Move. Nobody really cares about an apology, because especially if it's empty. There's nothing behind it.
well, you have
So
to look at something besides an apology because in
yes.
our, that's a very Abrahamic kind of way of looking at stuff. I don't want an apology. I want you to
Hmm.
atone for what you did.
Right.
How are you gonna make me whole for what you did to me?
Exactly.
You shoot my children, you kill my children, you kill my husband, you kill my wives, you kill all of us, and then you tell me you want to bring an
Oh,
apology back to lift us up, right? No. What are you going to do to make us whole?
Nothing.
What are you going to help us do? Because you can't bring back the dead.
we
That's
definitely
right.
can't.
Okay,
That's so
but you're
true.
gonna have to make a whole people, because it has impacted not just the people there, but there's still things in our own hearts of Black folks that even hear about it now that
Yes.
hurts them to the core.
Hmm.
So
Very
Okay,
true.
true.
so
Very
how
true.
are you going to take that back? What are you going to do? And that's what has to be addressed. Atonement, not apology, is the wrong word. They need to
Mm,
say, how are you going to atone for what you have done to us? Okay? Because whenever we do something, they want a pound of flesh.
Hmm.
Okay? So I want to know, where's my pound of flesh?
Well, I think that when we look at the story of African people in this country, even atonement, like that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because they have no intention on restoring us to to our to our to who we were previously. That's something that we're going to have to do on
Of
our
course.
own.
Of
You
course.
know, yeah. So it's
No,
just,
that's, I think it's
yeah,
just the word has to be placed in the public consciousness
mhm.
yes,
more than anything else. The word that there has to be atonement
hmm,
rather than apology.
yeah,
Of course, they're not going to make up for it, but
right,
what are we going to do? See,
right is
it's
the question.
happening to, it's personal. Okay. And I swear, I am not a Christian. So I am not that one that's, you slap me and I turn the other cheek. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
me either.
I ain't
Yeah,
that girl. You know,
I'm
I'm
not
not
that
that
either.
girl. So I have an issue with that. Okay. Now I do go to my deities. I go to my Risha Rumile, and I ask for guidance on how to do it. And I also understand when they say to have patience, that it doesn't mean that I am complacent.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Patience means that you are watching, waiting, but you're also doing.
Mm,
You're working in the background, doing something to make things happen or to deal with situations of the issue that you're having patience about, but you're not being complacent. What has happened to us is that we have become still,
mm,
okay?
mhm.
Because people don't know. They're not saying things about these situations on a regular basis,
I agree.
okay? And the people that can do something are short-handed. They need help. They
Mhm.
need other people to help them. So no, I don't expect for them to atone, but I expect for the consciousness of African people for that word to go through their consciousness and say, well, wait a minute, how are you gonna pay me back for what you did? Okay, because it does something internally to us when you ask, what you going to do about this? That's what I'm saying.
So, with that being said, though, what things could we do? Because I keep trying to go inner. What can we do? You talked about the Abels and the sacrifice, and I definitely get all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think some of us just need instructions on things that we can do to shift that consciousness.
Talk about it.
Yesterday I put up the picture
Mm-hmm.
of the chakras, um, and I'm trying to pick that up right now. I'm trying to find this picture. I had it so clearly. Um, in terms of when you look at these PowerPoints within us, and if those things on the line, it's kind of hard to do the big stuff if you don't do the small stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like looking at a person, they be fully dressed and looking so beautiful, but then the inside of them is real funky.
Mm-hmm.
Because we go through the motions of the dress up, but we don't do that work in the inside of
The
us.
internal work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
If I
it's a
multiply,
matter.
are you muted? Okay. Okay. Sorry. I had muted you because it started
Okay.
crackling.
Yeah, I understand. I
Okay.
understand.
Go ahead. I don't know if you need to say anything. I didn't want to have you locked up. But I'm thinking in terms of, and I'm gonna get this picture up real quick, because I feel like part of the conversation is how do we deal with that internal work that
Yes.
keeps showing up? Because I feel like that's a part of the work that we really got to do. And it's not an easy work at all. You know
True.
what I mean? It's just not easy.
Well, is it not requiring us to teach people how to change their minds and also to learn
Mm.
how to hear spiritually? No,
At
Yes.
all.
we're not doing that either. We have, it's about teaching that internal work.
Right
We,
on.
and so like I know I do it. You probably do it, other people do it, but we have to also have a more concerted effort on how to do it. Okay. How to be still, how to at least learn how to um not only internalize it, but don't get emotional about it. Because when you're emotional, your emotions get in the way of doing your work. Sometimes I had a sister who used to tell me about 40 years ago, you need to learn how to take your emotions, put it in a garbage can, and bury that sucker in the North Pole. And then come back and get it when your work is done. Okay. And so we have to learn how to be still so that we actually can hear spirit talking to us. We have to be able to teach people how to do that as well.
Yeah.
It's not an easy task, and it's not easy to um, process some of the things we're asking people to process, especially on a spiritual level. Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, part of that is understanding that prayer is talking to Orisha, okay, or your deities, and meditation is listening. So you're learning how to listen and getting these spiritual downloads so that you are able to move in a different type of way. Yeah, where you listen, we can talk about Ori and all the other technical stuff from my religious point of view.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, we still have to change how we think. We're anesthetized, because if we're moving forward economically, some people actually think they have arrived.
Mm.
No, and they haven't. We don't know what real wealth is here. Not real wealth. And we don't have part of it. And every time we try to get it, somebody is trying to take it out of our hands. That's a whole nother story.
Right.
So, how do we work in a concert, or another word would be egg bay? How do we work in an egg bay or a group of people to move towards changing the minds of the whole people? Not only spiritually, but at least to say that ain't right. You know, how
Right
many
on.
people are saying that ain't right? Okay, we should still have 5-year-olds talking about that ain't right. This
Mm.
isn't being taught in the school.
Yeah,
Okay,
and it won't be.
so it's a change that has to take place. And when we do that change and make those changes, and we're not looking for someone to apologize or atone, we take our change and just deal with it. Okay.
Okay, so let's look at this. Let me see if I can get this. Because no, what you said is right on the money. I'm so trying to make this thing work. Um, let's look at this. I just put up a picture of the chakra system. I'm gonna get a better picture up. Let me stop. I'm gonna put a better one up. When we look at those different spots, right, at power points or centers in our body, how do we then get those aligned right? And we know they won't be aligned right all the time, but
Mm-mm.
how do we align them so we can get them right? So we're talking about that crown, that third eye, that throat, that heart, that solar plex, that root, it's a cranial. Like, how do we get those things to be balanced when they've been out of balance?
Are there not exercises, spiritual exercises that are done on a day-to-day basis through meditation that those things are placed into balance? Breathing
Yeah,
aren't
uh,
there,
through the breath, through the breath,
right, through the
and
breath,
through meditation.
right.
Mm.
So with those systems in place, and that's, with a meditative system through the breath, that's a one way of being able to heighten your awareness in your spirituality, heighten these different spiritual centers. Okay. So but again, that's just one way. Another way is our deeds and our actions on a day-to-day basis. What are we doing to show compassion? What are we doing to show love without being a punk? Okay. And I say it like that because you have to think about that aspect of it too. I am not good at I'm not good at two shoes. So, but how do I display love, compassion, care, kindness on a day-to-day basis? Um, my daughter just put out, my youngest daughter just put out the thing she's doing with Deepak Chopra on her meditation journey and journalizing. Okay. We're even seeing meditation being done in the school centers. Okay. In between classes and stuff. So when you're talking about that, it's not just breathing and meditating, it's also in your actions and how you change your actions day to day. Today, I'm going to make a concerted effort as I engage with people to be kind. Today, I'm going to look at my situation and hope that someone is kind to me, but it doesn't matter if someone else is kind. Let me be kind. And can I write about this later on at the end of the day? Can I write about the different interactions I had today for kindness? That's a meditative act. That's also a way of changing your mind. Okay. So that's just something, you might want to look at another process. What are you doing in charitable acts? You have different programs, okay, where you are working in your communities. You're working in different areas to help people. That's a charitable act of compassion and kindness that you're doing on a regular basis. How many people are volunteering? How many people are, as a individual and as a group, going out to volunteer and say, you know what, hold up, let me put my hand up. You need some help, I can help. We need to incorporate that in the consciousness of our people too, where we actually start to do work with each other in those areas.
I understand that. So what came to mind when you were talking, I always reflect back on my own experiences. I remember so many times in my life seeing Black people pull together to make things happen. Whether that's, I work with a group of Black women who built the clinic that lasts for 25 years. I've seen Black folks pull together on a lot of stuff when it comes to surviving and making do and whatever. But when on this chart, the base chakra is the root chakra, and that represents basic trust. Well, we know a lot of us have issues in trusting each other because we have been so violated, and not just by white people, but by
Right.
people who look just like us. I'm one of those people where I don't care if it's your representative or if you are a puppet, you still on the hook. You don't get off the hook with me.
You're right.
If you decide to be with the other team, you going down with the other team. You don't get them, you black pass, so you get the two.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I don't subscribe to that at all. So when you think about the root chakra and that being about basic trust, how do we then start to address our basic trust issues in our community, which hinder us a lot from being able, rather, and this ain't even about the dead people, this is about people who's supposed to be alive and awake, and I know all of these things, but you can't even get along with the people who believe as you believe.
Mhm.
You don't even trust them enough to want to do stuff with them. You know, ain't nothing about a woman talking about empowerment and she don't like other women. It's like, now how does that work? I've experienced that. Where I was like, okay, like you don't even like this person. So how are we talking about sisterhood and you know you don't even like people? Like you don't even, you know, how do we begin to clean out that basic trust issue that we see in our community? And I know part of it is from the spiritual side, and I get that, but I just think it manifests in the physical side.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
was always taught if you do the work in the spirit world, you could always manifest it in the physical.
Absolutely. I think that we have to start unlearning things.
Right on.
Unlearning those things that have kept us. We, you know, we fall back into those basic conversations of something as simple as buying from black folks, black business. No, I think I'm gonna go over here to somebody else. Okay. Um, because of our basic mistrust. So we have to start addressing those issues. And it's in general conversation. Whenever someone says, I'm not going over there buy from them, you have to ask the question, why not?
Right on.
Okay. Because if you're not buying from them because your distrust of another black person, then that means that if I had something to sell, you wouldn't trust me either. And it also goes with our mistrust in the women's issues.
Mm.
Okay. We have sayings like never let another cook in your kitchen. Okay.
Wait, what you say?
Never let another cook, never let another woman
Yes, I'm
cook in
familiar
your
with that.
kitchen.
That's right.
Never let another woman cook in your kitchen.
That's right.
Basic mistrust. We do that all the time.
I'll be
Okay.
starving to death because I let people cook in my kitchen.
I've heard that from day one. The day the day I married, my mama said, "Don't you let that woman up in your kitchen."
Mhm.
That was my friend. It was my friend. Okay.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. And you know what? Yes, she did. Okay. My mama was right.
Damn.
Okay. I
Oh,
love
that's
God
crazy.
bless her.
I'm unmiking myself for that. You know,
That's
some
deep.
some of them old sayings we can say they're kind of crazy and all of that, but your mama was right.
Right.
See
Okay.
now,
That's what I said. Did you?
but the thing is, the other day when Ifeoma Dukwe put things in a way, there are a lot of us who are very seasoned, and we're still carrying a lot of things from the 1950s, the 1960s, the 19 even 70s, the way things were then, the way we thought then, and the way we thought we were under the illusion of inclusion. We ain't included in this party. It ain't our party. And they tell us that over and over again. That's why they dropped that bomb in 1921 and turned around and dropped it again in 1985. And don't be surprised. And they dropped a bomb on us on 2020. because that's what this pandemic is.
Ooh, Lord.
Pandemic,
So
that's right.
we gotta have a new way. We gotta get that paradigm shift. We have to have a new way of thinking, a new way of walking, talking, acting, praying, being, meditating, journaling, everything. We have to change the way we think because
Absolutely.
everything starts with mentalism. That's what this is all about. It's about thought. And we've got to change the way we think. Once we do that, this dog is driving me crazy. Once we do that, when we change the way we think about ourselves and each other, that's when the revolution doesn't need to be televised because the revolution is within each one of us.
And I think that actually it has already started. It really has
Mm-hmm.
already started because we are having these conversations and we are doing different things and making movement. I think it's when we have other conversations that try to negate the movement of what we're doing, that we have to just have a stronger voice that says, no, you're not. No, you're not. And it really
Mhm.
begins there. It's
Right
being
on.
able to stand up. Again, even though I brought the funny part about, women in the kitchen and stuff, but it's in that kitchen that that woman and I need to have a conversation.
You better
That's
say
where it
that.
is. We have to
Yes.
have a conversation because
Yes.
at the end of the day, it is about trust, and we have to learn how to trust each other. And we have to be able to use what I call our spidey senses, our intuition, to know, hey, I you may not want to talk about this, but I think we're going to have to, and start going into the areas of why there is distrust, because until we put it together as women and mothers,
Right.
until we put that thing together, then everybody else ain't gonna follow. We have to do it ourselves
Yeah.
and
We
start
we
back.
we must have that conversation about trust. But what
Yeah,
we have to do is some inner work and become trustworthy. Because that
true.
woman that was in your kitchen she didn't wasn't trustworthy.
Nope.
In the first place.
See?
Not at all. Not
Yeah.
at all. And
We have
we
to
had the
take
40 years. Yep.
stock of ourselves and be trustworthy
Hmm.
and stop putting a knife into our sister's back or our
Hmm.
sister's belly.
Mm.
Mm.
That's true.
All right now.
Somebody's asking the question, do you think our diets play a part in this
Yes.
mental transformation? If so, how?
Yeah, what you put garbage in, garbage out. What you put in, what you
Uh-oh.
put it in your body is important in terms of what you get out. It has to do. It can mess up your mind. It affects the way you think, how you can think. Certainly affects your health. So, diet has a lot to do with allowing our chakras to be in alignment and in sync with one another. Um, I'll let someone else speak because that noise must be in the background.
Your dog is
Call
like
the
the amen
co-dog.
quiet.
Co-dog.
What about the part of the chakra that is where your wisdom and power is, that solar plex? Is that something we could develop more?
Is Mo Duplantis wanting to talk?
I don't have you muted, do I? Oh Lord, hold on. Dang it. I thought she was unmuted. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. Okay, go
That's
ahead.
okay.
I'm like,
I
man, I
just
gotta.
want to say, well, in response to your question, yes, and um, there's an issue of self-worth that we struggle with.
Hmm.
We have to love ourselves. We have to trust ourselves. your trust is not trustworthy if you don't trust yourself. You don't have any idea what you're doing. It's like you bumbling around in the dark. It's you don't know, okay. That's why we have to separate ourselves from our emotions, because we don't understand them. We don't know how to use them as guideposts. There's our body signaling something to us, and you have to trust that, even when it's uncomfortable. So then when one sister go into your kitchen, you tell her, no, baby, that's okay. Let me get that for you. And then and it's going to leave in there and then go on about your business.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, your body will tell you. Like, you get the information. The information is all there, accessible to you all the time. It is not a time when you're cut off from the information. But if we don't trust ourselves, then it's just like knocking down dominoes. True. You can't trust yourself. You made the wrong move first. Then somebody else went on and did their wrong move. And then that let somebody saw it. And then they was like, oh, there go a victim. Here go another customer. Let me go on and let them have it. You know what I mean? We're always choosing between us and them. We can't get a harmony. We can't get on the same page because we're scared. And what we're scared of is that if we do listen to ourselves, that we have the truth. And it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable the first time, at least, until we all get in the habit of listening to the truth that is within us, that Ori wisdom, that divinity, that whatever you want to call it, that spirit, that intuition, those hits. Your solar power, your solar plexus can be on 100 million. But if you're walking around ignoring it, that's going to turn into stomach cancer.
Yep, that's it.
And we don't want to have that conversation because that's uncomfortable. When you have to tell your own blood related sister, get out my kitchen. Or you got to tell your mama, have a seat, baby. Let me get that for you. Or you know what I mean? You have to buck up against things that we've already accepted as truth. And we think that this is Black culture. But the Black culture is, the African culture is that you came here designed for this. You got everything you need. You are built for this existence on earth, what you came here to do. And if we could trust ourselves to seek guidance in the places where we feel that comfortable, if we could trust ourselves to listen to our own intuition, if we could trust ourselves to understand how we're made, we ascend a lot of this bullshit off top.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It doesn't even show up for us anymore because a lot of it only gets airtime because we're scared.
Flight or fight.
That's the only reason why it gets airtime, is because as much as we can keep asking the question, and we seek atonement from a totally different posture when we know that we deserve it. When we're wavering, I don't know, white people don't really like us, but they might. Then we have
Why
a
we
different
can't?
tone of voice.
Why do we care?
Okay. Yeah, we don't care. It should not even be exactly.
Why you care?
That's exactly it. And we care because slavery has us in a posture where we care more about what white people think than we care about what we think.
Yeah.
We care more about preserving their lives than we care about preserving our own lives.
Right,
if we're honest with ourselves about that's what happened. That's what happened. Now something else needs to happen.
What is that something else?
That something else is us standing up within ourselves, then together.
Right on.
Yeah. Stand up for yourself. There's a lot of us that have a problem even doing that.
Yeah.
Of standing up for yourself. And being accountable for the things that you say and do.
Yes.
And I was thinking,
part right right there. The responsibility part, the
Mhm.
accountability part. That
Accountability,
when you
right.
mess something up, because you're gonna mess something up, it's not gonna be perfect. You're gonna do it right sometimes, but sometimes you're gonna do it wrong. Go back and clean it up. Why? Because you know that you're worthy of having a clean slate, and you know that the people in your community that you injured are worthy of your action. They are worthy of you saying, you know what, I messed that up. What can I do to fix it? Not, I'm sorry you feel bad.
Right.
That's what
The
we learned
traditional
how to do.
cop out.
Yeah.
I said the traditional cop out.
Yeah.
When people want to cop out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And stop. And like you said, we're not letting people off the hook no more.
Mhm.
That time is over. You know, I don't have to embarrass you in public, but I'm gonna pull you to the side and I'm gonna be like, hey, we don't do that over here.
True.
So how you want to move forward? How do you want to move forward? You want to clean this up or you want to get to stepping?
Right.
Because whose side you on anyway?
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? If we start to have those conversations are not easy.
Uh-huh.
It might hurt you to say that to somebody that you love or somebody that you trusted that didn't deserve your trust. And then go back and see why you trusted them and they didn't deserve your trust. And then you got something to clean up with yourself. That's a lot of work. But that's the work that we're called to do right now. And if we don't do it, then we can't get mad when we get shot in the street.
Right.
We don't get to be mad because we already told the people that our lives wasn't worth shit.
That's true.
We don't get to be mad.
That is true.
You on fire again, sis.
I'll be getting worked up lately. I need to go take some.
Oh God.
Because you can't watch people get shot by the police on video too many times without getting worked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, a lot of them videos.
Yeah. And we watch them and talking about they running for them. I mean, it's just a lot going on right now. And because I'm glad they opened up the beaches. Now I can go look at something different. But I've been looking at the computer. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well, at least you buy some water.
It's not okay, man. Because it shows me that we don't regard the life. We regard the ad. We regard how we show up. We want to repost something that makes us look conscious. But in reality, if you was really paying attention to what was happening, then you would say, do we really love ourselves or not? We got to decide today because tomorrow they're going to kill somebody else.
Yeah. And the thing of it is then it's always somebody that's going to be closer to you.
Yep. It's inching closer and closer every day.
Yeah. All the time.
If it ain't touched you yet, it's going to touch you soon because they're making their way around. You know what I mean? And then it's not a game. It's not a game, but like you said, it starts with our individual regard for ourselves. Because you can't do nothing. You can march all day, but if you go home and abuse yourself and go home and abuse your wife and go home and abuse your kids, talk crazy, call you kids a bunch of MFs and all this stuff, then what are you doing? You want to be on camera? Is that what you know what I mean? You can't, it doesn't work like that.
You're true.
We're not calling each other on it. And so when we're in these communities, while we're doing this work to align shoppers, while we're doing this work to invoke and provoke our ancestors, while we're doing this work, we got to call each other on our stuff. Like you said, you can't let somebody say something real crazy in front of you and then just be like, oh, that's what Black people do. I'm that's not even my thing. Let me leave you alone. I'll just turn around and walk out the room. No, you don't. No, stop talking to her like that. go on with yourself. You need to do a self-check. Or then we're gonna start pulling out Florida water and all the stuff, and then we're gonna find ourselves in front of the Ego shrine because we're gonna start having different conversations. Like
Right on.
you know what I'm saying? We have to stop playing. This is not pageantry. It could be pageantry for people whose lives ain't on the line. But as soon as we really love ourselves, we recognize that our lives are on the line.
You take less stuff.
Yeah.
When you love yourself, you take less stuff off of others.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not as easy to let something slide because you know you need to address it right then and there so that they don't do it again.
Right.
Okay. So you also are in a position when you start to love yourself, you really start to put yourself in a position to stand and stand on your own convictions of I am worthy. I am more than worthy. I am trustworthy. And when you do that, you are able to do that as even in your own communities, in your own family. Because can't nobody hurt you like you can. Okay?
Right.
Can't nobody hurt you like that. Okay? And if you can't stand up to them, you certainly can't stand up to no community. Okay? But more importantly, can you stand up to yourself?
Right.
Okay.
Can you say to yourself when you about to do something that you know is out of bounds, you know you ain't supposed to do that, and then stop? Can you stop yourself? Do you understand what I mean? And then in places where you feel powerless, do you have the strength to seek help to be better? Do you have the strength in your prayers to say to your ancestors, look, I'm not doing so well with this. I need some help. Go whatever help that you have available to you to seek it out and begin to make yourself better. Like, is it that important to you? Do you love yourself enough to do the work? Do you? And then, you know, and then we don't have to be looking at each other out the side of our face.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, here's the thing about moving forward. You can't do it while you're trying to see if somebody got your back.
Yeah.
If my sister is walking behind me and she's supposed to have my back and I gotta keep turning around doing this, you got my back, you ain't gonna stab me, right? You got my back. We cool, right? If I got to keep doing that,
right.
I'm not moving forward. And if I am, I'm probably gonna walk into a wall. And that's what we've been experiencing.
But then again, that's where we actually have to again have that conversation with each other. Because if we don't have that conversation and not be afraid of what's going to be said, okay? Because if I can't have a conversation of my truth and be in fear that you're going to get upset or mad or whatever, then what am I doing?
Right.
I have to be able to have that kind of conversation and develop that relationship. That's the one thing that I loved about Nikki Giovanni and some of the things that she wrote about. And the opening of the way for women, African women, to have discussions with each other out in the open when they couldn't have discussions before out in the open and out loud. So those were things that were important for us. And so this is, again, a time when we're going to have to be in that space. Yeah. Being able to have that kind of trust. Because I'm telling you, I don't like what's at my back. Okay?
Yeah.
Unless it's a back that I trust, that they going back to back. Okay? So we have to, you know, get off my back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't wanna just look, if I have to die violently for whatever reason, I do not want to get shot down. There needs to be some gunplay. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
There needs to be some gunplay. It needs to be, no, there needs to be shots going back and forth. This is what I'm talking about. And I don't mean that just literally. I mean that figuratively. I mean that in every way. We need to just stop standing around getting shot down. Like, this is not working for us. This whole nonviolent resistance situation. And what I mean that to say, we have to assert the importance of our survival. We can say Black Lives Matter, but do our actions say Black Lives Matter? Do we demand that they matter? Do they matter to us as Black people? Do Black lives matter to Black lives? And watching people killed that look like you and have them rendered powerless in front of you. This is the Willie Lynch letter. What? Line them up so that they can watch us kill these people, and they can't do nothing about it. Then that impresses upon the subconscious, your life ain't worth nothing. So unless you have something to neutralize that, which we do.
Yeah, we do.
Unless you have take the action to neutralize that, then that's what exists in the minds of those people, in the kids that saw that bombing, in the young people who saw that bombing, grew up to begin to start to kill each other because they were already convinced early on their lives are worthless. They have no power to defend their own lives. Here are African Black people who have organized, who are determined to defend themselves, who are determined to make a better life for themselves and their community. And the government, who we put a lot of trust in because a lot of people are relying on them for their well-being in some way, shape, or form. That's it. And AFDC check look just like a government employee check, by the way. Same checks. One person just gave him 40 hours that week. And so what are we, when the government does that to our people, then the rest of the people who come behind them have to like take that in stride. We've taken it in stride, and we live with the subconscious understanding that our lives do not mean anything and we are powerless against our enemies. And if we don't change that in a way that's not aggressing one another. So when another Black person does something to you, does that make them your enemy, really? Especially if they're doing it because they have been bewitched into believing that their life doesn't mean anything, so neither does yours. So we could squabble over some money, we could squabble over a woman, and somebody got to die. Your life means so little that you can't get over an argument over something as petty as a dollar bill that ain't really got nothing to back it up, or a relationship, a romance relationship. We're not talking about you going to kill the person who killed your mama. We're talking about you, because that don't even happen. We're talking about somebody stepped on your tennis shoes, somebody took your woman, somebody standing on your corner selling poison, somebody doing something. Do you know what I mean? We're arguing over things that still don't belong to us because we ain't taking ownership of our lives.
But again, it goes back to, we have to teach people how to think again.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
We have to. And now it is imperative. Yep. It really is. And even though you might see threads of it going through this country and other places, it's still not enough. It has to, this is conversations that should start in the womb.
Yes.
So we have to start looking at different ways of being able to do that and have these conversations and the outcome. Because I want that child that has his hairline triggered on if I don't give him my purse, he gonna
Right.
kill me. I want him to think about that again
Right.
and leave me alone. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. Because there are things that are off limits.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? We
Mhm.
are off limits. You don't get to walk up on no elder and commit no crime. That's just the beginning of
Or
learning
cuss
to
them out.
value. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Or cuss them out. You know, or do
Yeah, no.
anything that's,
Yeah,
you
do
know.
anything offensive. Matter of fact, beyond a greeting and how you doing, tread carefully, because the truth is, if an elder doesn't want to have a conversation with you, move on. That's the truth. And when you understand the significance of having access to elders, but you first got to understand your own significance.
Absolutely.
There's no way around it. We got to start earlier. There's no way around it. We could do all the stuff, and all the stuff is important, but we still have to do that. We still have to rewire ourselves to feel worthy, to be worthy, just to be worthy.
Right.
So that you know that if you're not doing anything, that you're still worthy. If you don't work today, you still worthy. If you don't produce nothing, you still worthy. Just because the gift of life is what makes you worthy, because you were created, you were made in this way. Like, there's divinity within you. There's a piece of God. You got your own little piece of the Creator. And
Absolutely.
if that's not enough, that has to become enough for us. And then we can begin to do all these things again. I mean, we're not going to ever stop doing, but we're not human doings. We're human beings. And
Right
I
on.
mean, it sounds cliche, like all these one-liners and all that, and I'm not even into all that. It's
No, that
corny.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I know it's corny, but I'm just saying it to say that we really gotta love.
But it makes sense.
Sis?
It
makes sense.
Yeah, we have to love ourselves and love each other, man, because what we're doing right now, we're creating fair game.
We've been
And I know
creating
that's
that for a long time.
Yeah, it's a harsh way to say it, but we are. When we have babies now, we're making fair game.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been used as. We've been used as game. We've been used as customers. We've been used as
target
free
practice.
labor. We've been used. Our existence has been about our utility. And until we change that amongst ourselves and within ourselves, like, you have to just be okay. Just be it. You have to, that is a practice. We're not going to get it right off top. We have to condition ourselves, and we got to find ourselves worthy of that conditioning.
We have been conditioned. We're in the process of what we have to do is break a conditioning, because that condition has been going on since we've come into these different ports of entry into this country and other countries since the transatlantic slave trade and beyond. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a conditioning that we actually have to start breaking. And people have tried. They've tried.
Yes.
And they continue to try. But it has to be more than a try.
Yeah.
It has to be an effort, a concerted effort to do. Try is just like potential. Okay. It's a possibility, but it's not a reality. It's not an actuality. We have to make it our actuality. No. This conversation that we're having is that actuality. That's a step towards doing that. And having the discussion, because after we have this discussion, we're going to talk about it with other people. You know, I know I am.
Yeah.
Right on.
And so that conversation is going to go further.
Mhm.
From that, then we want to look at how are we going to apply our spiritual concepts to our daily living, to our
Right
daily
on.
spiritual activism, because that's where it goes
Mhm.
back to. We
Right.
have to be our own spiritual activists as well. When all
Yeah.
of the stuff that we stand on top of and our truth, the truth has to go into what you live for.
I see.
Okay. And being able to stand with that
Yeah.
and be active in making those changes, not only within yourself, but within your families, then within your community. Yeah.
Yes.
Right on.
And that's how we do that.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, look, another show. I love these conversations. I feel like we need to hear it. We just need to hear it. And I grew up, I always say this, but I really did grow up listening to older people have conversations.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I would be that kid literally sitting there, like, listening. Sometimes I'll fall asleep, I'll wake back up, you know, always make it a phone call, though. But I remember retaining so much. And I think sometimes in our culture today, it's missing because some of us don't know people like that. Some
Yeah.
of us a lot of us haven't had the luxury of having a real big mom or a Madeir. Like most of us don't even know that energy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll talk about, I don't need it, but you don't know it because you never had one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know what it's like to have, pop pop. We don't really
Mhm.
understand what that means, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm just really, really grateful for these conversations. And I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I do re-listen to a lot of the shows, like if I'm in the middle of doing something. And I like to listen to talk radio or just to, I just like to hear voice and people talking because that's where,
Mhm.
that's why I think it's unhealthy in school for you to be sitting there doing this, looking at somebody. Like I have to be doing something. Because if I'm doing something like, I could hear more. So I'll be like, oh, then I'll stop and be like, that's what I just heard. So
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
just grateful to be on these conversations. I really
Yeah.
am. I really am. So I'm trying to get y'all's final thoughts here. What do you want to leave the people with today? Because y'all done
Your
said a
right,
lot.
your right to fight for yourself.
That's good.
It is your
That's
right
good.
to be worthy. It is your right to stand up and be truthful with yourself and to stand and live and teach and do all these things to bring us to where we're supposed to be as a people, as human beings. So what I have my takeaway from this is that again, I gotta get back to my spiritual activism
That's true.
and pushing that not as an agenda, but as a deed to do this deed of being better at spiritual activism than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
To be better at it today than I was yesterday. And to see how it's going to be better in my future. So that's what my takeaway today.
Right on.
Um, I want to say that we it's all about connections. Like I'm hearing a lot of talk about doing this and doing that, and but we have to have our teachers, to help guide us to know what to do and when to do it and how to navigate this the hinterlands of these societies and these communities that we exist in. We need help with that. So we have to connect. We have to connect. We have to connect our
Mm-hmm.
children, our grandchildren, and also ensure that they are connecting future generations. So a lot of things we don't know because like you were saying, Rolanda, that because people didn't have a big mama,
We did
grandpa,
it.
to show them the way and to share life stories with them. Like our life stories, our family life stories, that's our story. You know, and all children and all of our families should know our stories. Like we should know how we got to where we are. We should know the story of how our families got to where they're located now in particular, you know, and then where they came from, and then like where do you plan to go? You know, and kind of where do you plan to go? You know, and those of us that know, we have to share that information.
That's right.
So just holding it to ourselves is no good. You know, we need to share that information. We have to share that knowledge because because then we are allowing our future to build and continue the legacy of African people.
Right on.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Yeah.
Ashe.
I feel full. I feel full of hope because I know that as time passes and I go home where I belong, that there are others who are behind me. And I always refer to Ifa Madukwe and Madonna and others who are behind me, who are carrying the staff. They're coming up, and they are coming up in a way that is going to bring about the changes that I've always wanted to see, and we all want to see, because they're talking with a new tongue. They're speaking a new language. They're talking about I am worthy, not whether this man did this to me or that woman did that to me or what they have done to us. They're talking about who they are and that they're going to make the change because they are worthy within themselves, just their divinity. And the fact that they're breathing on this earth makes them worthy. We had a little issue with that. From time in the past, that wasn't our reality. But thank God I lived long enough for it to be my reality now. And I'm grateful and thankful for that.
Right on. Who else is next?
I give praise to Old Demore. I give praise to Arisha, my ancestors, and my mother and father. And I affirm for us all long, long, long life. May we look back on this time and laugh, remembering it as the time when we forgot who we were and then we remembered.
Right on. All right, family. Well, my final thought is that I am just grateful just to be standing in the now, in the midst of a bunch of great women who took time to share their wisdom and thoughts. I am so grateful, family. And with that, we're gonna close it out. So hold on, ladies. Don't nobody go nowhere. Hold on.